Why, hello there. It's me again, Video Gamer Angel, or VGA, like the cable, whichever one helps you sleep at night. Back again with another crossover picture. This time around it's Persona 5 and Danganronpa. And you can't see the whole picture right now, but it's a reference to that one scene in Infinity War. You know, with Bucky and Rocket Raccoon doing a Death Blossom. You know, like you do. So I guess you can say it's 3 crossovers for the price of 1 picture. And funny enough, I actually looked up that term, Death Blossom. And it's a real thing, apparently. It's military slang for that tactic where you spin around and fire your weapon in random directions, so yeah. And before you say Overwatch, apparently this goes farther back than that. It's a reference to that scene from The Last Starfighter. I think it's like a movie from 1985, if I remember correctly. I never watched the film myself, but I did see the scene where the term comes from, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's you spinning around and firing your weapon in random directions. But in the case, it was with a ship, so, you know, it was gonna work out because, you know, I don't know, laser targeting. You know, it's future science. You don't need to explain shit. It just works. Anyway, with Persona 5 Royale in the horizon, it's kind of appropriate that the picture is kind of like a tag team attack with 2 characters, and in this case it's with Junko and Morgana. Yeah, if you didn't notice by now, that's not Anne. it's Junko. And just mentioning her name, it's just a massive spoiler for everybody who knows Danganronpa. There's like a world record for cosplay, I don't know, somewhere. I don't know if it's Guinness or something, but apparently Junko is like one of the most cosplayed characters, but that may have just been like a survey thing, because I could have sworn it was like a Final Fantasy character or Street Fighter. I mean, I've seen a lot of Junko cosplays in my life, but I still can't believe that, you know, Junko would beat out like Tifa or Eris from Final Fantasy. It just seems like, come on, no way. I think that's just the survey. Like, the amount of people who did the survey are all Danganronpa fans, and that's phenomenal. But, you know, but what do I know? Maybe it is. Maybe Junko really does get cosplayed that much. We just don't know those numbers. But I'm kind of losing myself here, so you're gonna have to call Eminem. I'm being serious here. I don't actually have a prepared speech this time. I am just going by whatever pops up in my head. So, much like the picture itself, I'm just figuring out what exactly I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I already had like an idea of what I wanted the picture to look like, but for the most part, it's just me figuring out stuff as I go along, you know. I only started drawing seriously this year. Like, I used to draw a lot back in middle school. Shit got fucked, and then I just stopped drawing, and here I am picking back up the pieces. Okay, well, it's not that emotionally, like, horrifying. Okay, I'm not like advocating despair here, even though I'm drawing a picture with Junko in it, and the whole joke is just the fact that Junko and Anne just look way too similar. You know, not just with the hairstyle, but the fact that, you know, both of them are in fashion, you know, for the most part. So, earlier this year, I started a little mini comic about that kind of concept, with Junko's basically taking Anne's place, and nobody notices. For all intents and purposes, Junko has always been Anne. In fact, they don't even call Junko Anne in this comic that I'm doing. It's like a little mini comic, 4 panels, basically. I didn't want to get too super serious into it, especially because I just started drawing again, and I didn't want to bite off more than I can chew. But with the 4 style, I can have like the first 2 panels dedicated to a setup for a joke, and the last 2 panels are either the punchline or the punchline and then the reaction, either by one of the characters or whatnot. But I digress. So the whole concept itself is just hilarious to me, because the story in Persona 5 plays out normally. The only difference is that Junko is there, pretty much taking Ant's place. And if you know Junko, that her ideology is in stark contrast to the Phantom Thieves ideology about, fighting for the future, about hope versus despair and all that. And here we have Junko, who's pretty much the embodiment of despair, also, kicking her feet up on the dashboard, just enjoying the ride. And you can't really deny the fact that she does have a lot of skills, and it just kind of comes from the fact that she has like that super analytical ability where she can just observe something and then immediately get it. Like, I have like a theory that you can make her watch like an entire talent show, like, I don't know, like America's Got Talent or whatever, and she would immediately pick up on every single talent that's just showcased on the show just by watching it. Like, she's that good, and because she's that good, she gets bored easily. Like, nothing is ever a challenge for her. So her whole deal with the despair and whatnot is she finds peace and harmony too predictable and mundane, and she finds the idea of chaos, destruction, despair just so intoxicating because of how unpredictable it would be. Like, as smart as she is, she still has gaps in her plan that will allow her to fail just so that she can feel that kind of despair. It's really fucked up when you think about it. It's like, you've been gifted such an amazing talent, just being able to learn anything you want just by watching. But now the world is just so boring, and instead of trying to use your skills to make it a better place, you're using it to manipulate people and to abuse whatever kind of system that, it's like, because she has this, I guess you can say, like a front with the whole fashion business, and with her talent being super analytical behavior, you can pick up on like fashion trends and business tactics, whatever, like easily. Like, that would give her such a huge advantage in the fashion industry, but that's just a front. She actually has a private military under her belt and basically a cult. And before the Danganronpa 3 anime, I kind of assumed that, she just used her connections, her personality to pretty much recruit anybody she wanted. Like, she had a way to really find some sort of common goal, even with somebody who really is an advocate for peace and harmony. She would find a way to abuse that and basically make them fall under her rule, essentially. Like, she could probably, make somebody believe that they're doing the right thing, but in reality they're making it worse for whoever. Like, it's like you're trying to do some sort of charity event, but in reality you're funding this horrific campaign that she has going somewhere else. So yeah, she's now with the Phantom Thieves. So yeah, this comic was just kind of like a fun joke that I just had too much fun writing new ideas for. And even though I am using like the whole 4 comma style, which I just have 4 panels to work with, I still wanted to like fit in some jokes about it. Like, I didn't want things to get too super serious about it. Just the idea of her trying to blend in, with normal people, which really isn't that difficult for her because, super analytical powers. She knows how to, talk to people. In fact, going back to the whole anime thing, that's the one gripe I had with it, is I understand why they wanted to do the hypnosis thing. Okay, 1, it's easy, and 2, wow, you can subjugate the entire world really quick if you had brainwashing tech. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're kind of selling Junko a little bit short, because she didn't really need the brainwashing tech. Like, She has the connections and the personality to absolutely have anybody under her rule. And I kind of feel like there should have been a more personal touch with her recruiting the remnants of despair. It's like these are essentially your right-hand man and woman. I kind of feel like you should have more of a personal connection to their growth and, you know, actually have them working for you while you're there, because it seems like the moment that she brainwashed the remnants, she immediately went into hiding. Like, there was no back and forth between the chain of the command. It was just, okay, you now work for me, now fuck off and just do your thing. It's like, really? Like, I know, you know, time, budget and whatnot, but that was like one of the most disappointing aspects for me when it came to the anime. Even though the anime is super important to pretty much finish off Makoto's storyline, it just sucks that, you know, everybody was thinking it. It's like, oh man, how did Junko convince Ibuki or what's that guy's name? The guy who turned into a what was it? Was it Shrimp? Like, he got tossed into a volcano. Teru. Jeez, why did I forget his name? Oh, because he's Teru. Okay, I don't want to bash like the Teru fans, but gosh damn it, this guy. And it's funny because Miyu is basically Teru, but just even more vulgar. Like, you gotta appreciate that both of these characters are super honest about, you know, what they like and what they hate. But goodness, Teru was just going off the charts with his stuff. Geez, talking about that guy's making me lose my shit. So yeah, it kind of sucks that the anime doesn't have that personal touch with her manipulating these characters into doing her bidding, and then eventually, like, the curtain falls and it's like, the jig is up, but you already did all this crazy shit with me, so you might as well commit to it. Or worse, they knew what they did was bad, but they wanted to keep doing it, not only because, hey, they're good friends with Junko, but because this is what they wanted. It's like that part in your mind that tells you not to do something horrific or drastic. Yeah, part of that is now gone thanks to her, because she was able to talk you into doing something really bad, to pretty much give in to your darker impulses. Like, that's one of her talents. She can not only read into people's skills, but also their personality, and again, she can abuse that. So yeah, with her being in the Phantom Thieves, she is extremely skilled, and now she has the power to go into palaces and whatnot, and in the back of your mind, a corrupt individual like her probably has a palace too, but we might have a Akechi scenario where, yeah, that guy's pretty messed up, but he doesn't have a palace, I guess. I don't know, I guess we'll see in Persona 5 Royale, whether or not they change anything. I mean, I know for a fact they added a new palace, but that might be because there's a new protagonist, so there's that. And going back to the whole comics thing, I've only drawn like 2 pages for it, because at the time I was still figuring out the whole digital art thing, and I still am today. And it doesn't help that I'm using pretty old software. I mean, Paint Tool Sai will always be there for you when you need it, but even then I have to admit, yeah, this is getting a little too inconvenient for my taste. Like, I know for a fact that Clip Studio Paint has a feature that allows you to fill in these spaces a lot easier, so you don't have to worry about like doing touch-ups. So that would make life a little bit easier. But in reality, the thing that worries me the most is the fact that I am running on Windows 10, and Windows 10 has this really bad habit of making things stop working. Like, you'd wake up one day and the thing that you were just using just stops because it's too old. You know, this happens a lot with video games, and unfortunately, Steam hasn't really implemented a system that says, hey, don't buy this game, it's not going to work. You basically have to figure it out for yourself, buyer beware, and that'd be really difficult on their part, I get it. But at the same time, Steam also does surveys that ask for your software or hardware info. So they should have the knowledge to tell you whether or not a game is going to work on your system, right? I mean, they have Half-Life 3 money. What's the problem? But yeah, I think the bigger problem is because I'm using old tech, and the tablet I'm using, it's a Wacom sketch pad. Actually, I don't even know what this thing is called. It's so old that it doesn't even have any of the logos. In fact, when I tried to look it up one time, it's not even on Amazon. Like, that model has been discontinued. Like, I have something that shouldn't exist anymore. But hey, it still works, and as of right now, Windows 10 still likes it, so again, it still works, but I've been drawing on it for the past few months, and I'm already wearing out the nubs. And I don't really beat down too hard on the tablet. It's just, this is an old model, and you know, it's super cheap. I think I remember picking this up for like 20 or 30 bucks, but I definitely got my money's worth. Like, the fact that it lasted me this long, and it taught me a lot about digital art. You know, you have an idea, it doesn't just magically form on the canvas. You really do need to work hard to make things look nice. And speaking of making things look nice, the whole coloring process is basically trial and error for me. I'm improvising as I go along, and a lot of it is just the fact that I am using older software, and there are a lot of tutorials for it, which I'm really happy that they're there, but at the same time, everybody's moving on to Clip Studio Paint, or they're fully committed to Photoshop, and I'm worried I'm gonna be left behind. And it's like, yeah, I need to start learning new stuff, don't I? And I do. In fact, that's the beautiful thing about YouTube. YouTube's got a lot of problems. In fact, I heard that there's this recent controversy on Markiplier's deal. Apparently, if you spam an emote in chat, even for like a few times, like one sentence, like just one emote, your account's gonna get banned. So that sucks. YouTube, what the fuck? You're trying to compete with Twitch and you can't even use the same emote a few times? Come on. So yeah, like, YouTube, with as many problems as it has, I am glad that they still host a lot of tutorials, that they're still available. You know, until they're not. I don't know. But yeah, so whenever I hit a brick wall, I always try to dig up a tutorial on YouTube to, you know, help me get through it. And it's been working out for the most part, but even then, there's really no replacement for actual experience and technical know-how, which, you know, I've been digging into those books, you know, learning about anatomy and coloring and lighting, color theory. But even then, as I was doing this picture, I was already feeling the limits of what I actually know and what I've done, because, like I said, I only started drawing recently, earlier this year. Or I only started drawing seriously recently, in the beginning of the year. And when I look back on the old Persona 5 Danganronpa comics, it kind of shows. Like, I mean, I still like it, it's still fun, but I'm like, I know I can draw better than this now. And it's kind of shocking when you look back on your art and it's only been like a short time and it looks so much better than what you did a few days ago. It's like, oh no. It almost makes you feel like you should just scrap everything and just redraw everything, but you're not supposed to do that, at least not so soon. You just have to leave things alone and then just come back to it later. Now that's just for, you know, pictures, art pictures. If you're gonna do that with movies or video games or books, don't. Okay, like, don't do that. If your fans already love the original, you don't need to change it up just to satisfy your own ego, you know. Do I really need to state the obvious with it being... It's Star Wars, just straight up Star Wars. You don't need to go back and mess up like what the fans already liked about it, okay? Like a few touch-ups, sure, but don't draw attention to it. Like if you know for a fact that a lightsaber was supposed to be lit during one scene, then yeah, absolutely fix that, but don't change characters out or like add needless special effects. Just, it was fine the way it was. In fact, you constantly updating it is just gonna make it look worse, ironically. So, well, enough about movies. How about Persona 5? I've been dancing around it, but yeah, I loved it, honestly. And the most important thing that I learned from Persona 5, or rather I really appreciate that it covers, is just time investment and scheduling. And this ties in with my whole art deal. It's like, I know for a fact that I hit the ceiling as far as what my skills can do and what I know I can do. So I really do need to invest more time into learning new skills, and at the same time, you know, really digging my heels into these projects, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And I'm not just talking about the whole thing with Windows 10, like just destroying software, but I mean is like, hey, if you don't draw for a while, it's really gonna show. And you really need to just commit to an idea, and I'm really happy with the Persona 5 Danganronpa crossover that I have, because it's always on the back of my mind. I'm always trying to come up with new ideas, and it's just a simple little joke, but I'm in love with it so much, just having like this villain character just fighting alongside the heroes, and it's like, okay, but what is your real intention really? It's like there's got to be some sort of ploy into this, right? So that's what's kind of fun. And you know, even though I just been doing like 4 panels for each page, you know, in the future I definitely want to start doing even bigger, more advanced pages, like actually dig deep into that creative process with the comics, because you know how wacky they can get, you know, characters just flying off the panels. Like, I'm always a big fan of that. But with Persona 5, it's not just about skill building, but you know, with social links. And 24 hours in a day is a lot, but you also need to factor in sleep and, you know, getting something to eat. And as easy as it is to say that you can just spend the rest of your days just building up skills like a monk or like a hermit, it's like, it's not really going to benefit you as much as you'd like, because at the end of the day, life is always about co-op, and you can't do everything by yourself. You can't do it alone. In fact, one of the most important things about Persona 5 is just the fact that you can walk around and talk to all kinds of different people, and they give you a bigger perspective on the world, like things you might not even consider. Like, one of my favorite moments in the game is just me walking around and stumbling across that politician. And I'm not really much for politics, but when I started listening to what the guy was talking about, it's like, you know, maybe he's actually trying to help people, but they don't want to listen to him because he's got this history of corruption. And that sucks, because you kind of hear it from his speeches that he's genuinely trying to make a difference, and he's trying to amend for all the bad things he's done, but nobody's really giving him a chance. And when you kind of think of, I don't even know if I want to say Akira or Rin, so I'm just going to say Joker. Even then, that's kind of awkward because, you know, the Joker movie came out. So if I say Joker, are you immediately going to think of Joaquin Phoenix? Either way, so when you think of Joker's character, yeah, it kind of fits. It's like, you know what, this guy, even though Joker was defending that woman and then he got framed, so technically Joker didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, okay, don't take that out of context. Joker did nothing wrong. But the whole thing that he can relate with this politician dude is just the fact that, hey, he's a pariah. He's this character that's just been shunned by all these people because of something in the past, and it's really hard to shake that off, because one of the interesting things about it is just the idea of apologizing Like that was like the big thing with Persona 5 is you don't actually kill the bosses. You force them into submission and you get a genuine apology from their real self, from, you know, the real world outside of the palaces. And I don't know how gratifying that is for most people, but for me it's not so much gratifying as it is kind of shocking. It's like it's something that you've always wanted but seldom that you ever get. Like if something, or if someone did something so horrific to you to the point where you don't even think an apology is even possible, and then they give you one, that would send like a shock to your system, because it's like you never would have thought that would ever be possible. Like for a lot of the villains in Persona 5, they are just beyond redemption. Like they've totally committed to their greed, to their lust. Like getting an apology from them would be just impossible. A genuine apology, and you get one because you literally go into their hearts and steal whatever thing that was fucking them up, I guess you could say. I should probably be more elegant because, you know, Persona 5 is super classy, but you know me by now. I'm not exactly as classy. I'm trying, but you know, I can't stop saying fuck. It's a condition. it's a self-inflicted condition by yours truly. So funny that I brought up the whole idea with apology and these villains. They're just absolute monsters. Yeah, here's Junko. Like she was made to have no redeeming qualities whatsoever, or at least I think I heard them say that. I don't know. I find her charisma and general enthusiasm to be really endearing in the biggest quotation marks possible. But yeah, there's no redemption from her. Even after the end of Danganronpa 3, or not Danganronpa 3, Danganronpa 1, you never got an apology from her. She does not apologize. Even when you beat her in the trial, she does not say sorry. She was all in. Like all chips on the table. She was not gonna apologize. In fact, she kind of wanted this thing to happen. And I find that great. Like, it's kind of hilarious because Makoto is like saying, hey, no, we can still save you. Like, you don't have to die. And she's like, no, I wanted this. don't kink shame me, bro. I wanted this. So there's that. But yeah, I'm kind of going ahead of myself here. And we're kind of running out of time, aren't we? Shit. Anyways, I absolutely love that game, and just the whole aspect of learning how to balance between learning new skills and spending time with all these characters, because they are just full of like all these different personalities and like life stories. It really does feel like you're just going around town. It's like a vacation, you know? And funny enough, I think Persona 5 was Persona 5 originally was going to be a globe-trotting adventure with the Phantom Thieves, but after this natural disaster happened in Japan, they changed gears and they're like, you know what? We'll just have Persona 5 take place in Japan. For the most part, you do go to Hawaii, but they wanted to make the story more personal. You know, it's like how the Yakuza games all take place in Kamurocho in one way or another. It makes you really appreciate the world building that they have, because as the years go on, they add more and more content to the town. And like all the streets are the same, but now there's new buildings and new businesses that you can check out, and new characters, obviously. So yeah, just being a part of this world and really just enjoying the sights and all the stories that are wrapped up in this town. There's no way to really replace that kind of feeling, and I can't be singing praises all the time. I mean, I did have a lot of gripes with, not a lot, but you know, just a couple of gripes. The game's not perfect, but in fact, if you don't mind me bashing Persona 5 a little bit. I mean, hey, I was bashing on the Danganronpa anime, so it's only fair that Persona 5 gets a little bit more of that treatment. But Yeah, I think the final boss is a little too much for me. Honestly, I would have been perfectly fine if the game ended on the boat. Like, I had more beef with Shido than anybody else. What's that guy's name? Not Kaneshiro, it's not Kamurocho. There's a lot of K's. Kamoshida? Kamoshida. Yeah, like him, Kamoshida, and Shido, they were on my shit list, okay? I would have been perfectly fine if the game just ended on the boat. It was fine, but that still would not have answered the questions about Mementos and Morgana. And the reason why I had such a big beef with the final boss, as amazing as the visuals were and just the boss design and the music, as amazing as the final boss was, in the back of my mind, I'm looking at this thing, this replication of God. Like, looking at this thing, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of miss the times when we're just doing heists. You know? Like, I don't feel like a Phantom Thief in this moment. I kind of feel like a Final Fantasy character. And not to bash on Final Fantasy, but it just was just a little too much for me. Like, there was a line, and Persona 5 crossed that line as far as just going a little too much. And it's not much. Like, I say that they crossed the line, but really they just kind of have like a foot over it. Like an entire, I don't know, like a stride over the line. So they still have, they're still like have a balance, but they still went over the line. And the other thing that kind of bothers me is just Haru got the short end of the stick. Like, they introduce her character so late into the story, and by that point you're already finishing up on other social links, so most likely you're really not gonna get to know her character all that much. And that sucks because, you know, she's really nice and she really has a huge investment in the Phantom Thief fight. But, like, aside from her dad, you know, being one of the bosses, you don't really get to learn that much about her unless you really go out of your way to just do her social link. Just immediately just stop doing everything else and just do her social link, which I guess is possible. But similar to Danganronpa, you probably don't have time to do everybody's social link by the end of the game. Danganronpa especially, because certain characters die off before you can finish their social link, so even if you were to invest all your time in one character in Danganronpa, if they're scheduled to die in Chapter 1, there's no way around it, man. You can't finish it. You only have to look forward to School Mode or New Game Plus for that. So yeah, and you know, it's always a sad feeling, like when you spend so much time with these characters and you don't know if they're gonna be a victim or if they're gonna be the killer, and then the trial comes around and they start acting up. Like, you've hanged out with these characters and now they're starting to act weird. It's like, oh no, they know something, or worse, they're the ones that did it. So it really makes you appreciate just the amount of time that you spend with these characters and really knowing where they're coming from, and then having your heart ripped out and shown to you when the trials come around. So yeah, Haru kind of got the short end of the stick. You don't really get to learn all that much about her unless you go all in. And apparently you can. Sakurai, you know, the big boss of the Super Smash games, he was playing Persona 5 and he was close to getting every single social link done except Yusuke. Like, I don't know if his schedule just conflicted with everybody else, but I am just so impressed with the fact that Sakurai was able to get that many done by the time the credits roll. Like, just absurd. Obviously he had to save and load the game many times just to have like the most optimal schedule, but that really shows you the amount of dedication that this guy put into the game because he loved the characters that much. I mean, why would you do a social link if you don't like a character? You know, aside from the trophy, the platinum trophy. But at the end of the day, I love Persona 5, and that victory lap at the end where you get to walk around town and talk to the characters one last time, I'm a big fan of that. I don't know what game started it, but I can already think of one that has a really good victory lap. And I said in the beginning of the video, I said that there's only going to be spoilers for Persona 5 in the Danganronpa series, and I'm going to keep to it with that. But yeah, there's another game that I played before Persona 5 that also had a victory lap of you having one last talk with the characters that you're with, and every time that happens, it brings a tear to my eye. It's like, oh gosh, am I crying right now? It's like, yeah, I am. But I'm not gonna say the title of that game in case you haven't played it. But the only hint that I'm gonna give out is one of the characters wears a blue sweater, and that's it. Like, if you already know what the game is, don't say it, you know. But if you know what that game is, then, you know, pat yourself on the back because you played one of my favorite games of all time. It's not my favorite game. It's not the most favorited. I can't even talk. That's how you know it's by the end. That's how you know it's the end of the video, when I'm just like losing all steam and just panicking. It just, yeah. So yeah, that'll be a story for another day. But yeah, here's the end of the picture, or end of the video. Jeez, I am really losing my mind. It's probably the despair or whatever. Oh.